What's going on, folks? My name is Justin Freed, and I'm joined today by former Buffalo linebacker and 2025 NFL draft prospect Shaun Dolac. Shaun, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, Justin. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited for this whole NFL experience and just being able to talk with you guys.
Of course, buddy. It is wild times. We are literally less than a week out from the draft. How are you feeling right now? You excited?
Yeah, definitely excited. It's got to stay level-headed. Leading up to it, anything can happen. And it's just an exciting time for me and my family, and just looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, man. I want to do, before we even get into the NFL draft stuff, I kind of want to go through your football journey a little bit because I feel like, in my opinion, you have one of the most inspirational, I don't know if that's the right word here, but inspirational
Okay.
stories of anybody in this draft. And I feel like that deserves to be told. So let's go back, honestly, before you even get to Buffalo, right? You are star football player at West Seneca East High in Western New York. You're also pretty
Yep.
damn good at lacrosse. Was there ever any consideration of, especially when the recruiting interest maybe wasn't there, was there ever any consideration of maybe trying to make lacrosse a career, or was football always the dream?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you obviously done your research on me, so it's pretty cool. But football is definitely and still is the dream of mine, to play professionally. But at that time in high school, obviously having that lacrosse offer to University of Albany, it felt like I wanted to do it, but not in my heart. My mind's like, yes, you get your school paid for. Mom doesn't have to pay for school, and all that. But when I dug deep into my heart, football is what I started when I was 6 years old. So I knew what I wanted to do, and I just had to find a way and had to find the right place for me to go, and that's where I decided to walk on to University at Buffalo, and kind of had the career that I've had there.
And let's talk about the decision to walk on at Buffalo because you spent the semester at Milford Academy. Like I said, did my research. Recruiting interest still a little sparse. Had some D2 offers. I believe there was an FCS offer in there, but D1 FBS level interest kind of wasn't really there. So you chose to walk on at was basically your hometown school of Buffalo. Talk me through your thought process at that time. How difficult of a decision was that for you to make?
Yeah, being a high school athlete and then going to Milford, expecting to be offered by FBS programs or feeling like you've done enough to earn a spot on a roster and earn a scholarship on a Division I program, but ultimately not, I guess you could say, appealing to the eye of coaches or Division I schools. It's discouraging at the time, but to me, I don't let that get me down. I don't let it define where I'm going to go. Um, I turn that into motivation. I turn that into, a why. I turn it into just continue to push forward and to not give up on my dreams because, I know my values and I know my worth and, I'm a big faith believer in God and just knowing that he's got a plan for me and knowing that, wherever I end up, I'm just going to give it my all and I'm just going to put my head down and work. And fortunately enough for me, I had a couple preferred walk-on opportunities. I was at Buffalo, Syracuse, and Maryland all gave me preferred walk-on opportunities. And just considering that Buffalo was, 20 minutes from my hometown, and that wouldn't be an issue for family or friends to come to games if that's what I wanted. That was basically the easiest decision to make because tuition was in-state, so it wouldn't be as bad either when I have to pay for school. So I had decided to walk on to Buffalo, and the first year with Lance Leipold, I was able to learn a lot from the coaching staff to the players that were there. Just learning the linebacker position, at the next level. Just being a sponge and soaking up so much knowledge from guys like James Patterson, Kadolfi Wright, Tim Terry, like all these linebackers that were before me. Being able to learn and watch how they progress their game and just take as much knowledge from the coaching staff to them my first year. Was able to start on special teams, get a role on special teams that year. Made a little bit impact. Next year came in, Coach Leopold left to go to Kansas. So then that was another turning point. Like, oh man, like now I got to prove myself to another coaching staff. I got to just continue to work. But to me, it was nothing. Coming from being born in Buffalo, we all have that blue collar mentality as a society here, and it just stuck with me. And I'm just continuing to put my head down at the time. And fortunately enough, I was able to earn a scholarship 4 days in a fall camp with Coach Mo. And that was definitely a moment where I could say that a lot of the work that I've been doing paid off at the time and felt great. But at the time, I wasn't done yet. That was just the beginning for me, and that was the beginning to mold into somebody who I wanted to become. And like, I wanted to become the best linebacker to ever come out of Buffalo. I want to, make it to the NFL and do even more in the NFL. So, that was a goal and aspiration of mine. So I continue to work, continue to put in the work, being a sponge, continue to ask coaches and other players, like, okay, what do you do? So take it's in pieces of other people's games, kind of see how it works. If I could do it in my game, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So I had to kind of mesh it into my own style of play. So I was able to do that. I started the last two games of my sophomore season, was able to lead both games in tackles, and then fast forward to the next year. I guess you could say I had my breakout year in 22. Where I led the nation in solo tackles. Had a good, really overall year. The following year, ended up playing 4 games, and then just had a high ankle sprain injury. Was able to just rehab, get back into football shape, and then the next year decided to just kind of have coaching staff changed, and then I had to turn that back into it's another year to just do what I can for the team and just do what I what I know to do, and that's just work. Put my head down. Transferred to Utah State. Came back to Buffalo because this was home for me, and Coach Lembo and the whole staff that he brought in, they have done a tremendous job and are continuing to do a tremendous job to this day. They just welcomed me back with open arms and just said, "Listen, like, sky's the limit for you. Just continue to work, continue to put the work in, and you're gonna have to learn the playbook." Learned everything real quick, and then I guess the rest was the past year. What I've been able to accomplish. Statistically a great year, but also for the team, we had a phenomenal year, going 9-4. I think the second or third time in history, in UB program history. So that was definitely a special moment just for the team and myself, being able to do that with the group of guys I had and the coaching staff that we had. It was just an amazing season, and my career has been nothing but just amazing and special. So I'm truly grateful for Buffalo and everything that's to come next.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, you just took me through your whole career there. I appreciate that a lot.
Hey, you asked, so I had to.
I did. That's true. That's true. And you answered. That was a hell of an answer. I want to rewind a little bit because you mentioned, 2022, your breakout year. That's first year as a full-time starter, all MAC selection, lead the conference in tackles. That was your coming out party, right? But then you mentioned 2023, you only played 4 games. You had the high ankle injury, and that was a tough year because you guys also went 3-9. So talk to me specifically about 2023 before we even get into 2024 and how amazing that was. Talk to me about your mindset throughout that previous season and how difficult that might have been to go through.
Yeah, going through an injury, you don't want that for anybody, and especially when you play the game for so long. And that was my real first injury that I've had, where I had to sit out. So mentally, you have to be strong, and mentally, you have to just continue to be around the right people, and the support that I was able to have, like, throughout the training facility. My trainer Andy, Brian, and everybody that has helped me recover and rehab. I can't thank them enough just for the constant support, mentally and physically, that they've allowed me to endure. So they're a big part of my mindset and coming back. But there's while I was injured, I had to maintain a role that I can say I didn't do as good of a job as I wish I would have, and that's a leadership role. So when I got hurt, I'm so focused on my rehab and really trying to get back for the season, like the end of the season, that I think I'm taking a step back from that leadership role. And I can't, when that happens, like when I get hurt or when a player gets hurt, you can't step back from being that leader you are consistently. So going through that injury and then coming back to this year, I was able to really reevaluate the whole year that I had and the injury in the process and kind of say, like, I can't do that. I can't step back from being a leader because my teammates are counting on me. The younger kids, the younger linebackers who are below me, who have to play now because I'm injured or whoever, they're looking up to me to continue that leadership role and continue to help coach them on the field. That's what I got to continue to do. I don't think I did a terrible job, but I don't think I did the best job I could have. I think I can continue to improve that. Even though it sucks for me, I have to continue to support them and make sure that they're in the right spot, they're in the right place, mentally and physically. Even though if I'm not in the right space mentally, I have to continue to support them to make sure that they're getting the job on the field, because at the end of the day, the team is what matters, and we have to make sure that we're getting the wins. And I got to do everything possible to help my teammates, be successful on that field for us to get the win.
Yeah, and I think you did that. You came back in 2024. I feel like you did all the right things on and off the field. But before that
Yep.
even happened, you mentioned it. You made that decision to transfer to Utah State for what ended up just being a semester before returning back to Buffalo. What happened there? What happened with that? Why did you make that decision? What led to that decision to transfer to Utah State? And then ultimately, what led you home?
Yeah, yeah. Just honestly, after that year, like I said, it's a little kind of turmoil with myself, and just kind of figuring out, if I wanted to go see something else, so go play against, I guess you could say, higher competition. The Mountain West is a great group of five team as well, and just kind of exploring my options. Got them to offer me. My old DC was actually over there at the time, so he knew my style of play, so he really wanted me to come play for him as well. So I ended up going over there. Had a great spring semester, and that's when they had the coaching change here at Buffalo, where Coach Lembo just came in, and being in contact with all the guys still here, like my guy Marcus Fuqua, Red Murdoch, Jalen McNair. That's a lot of group of guys that I've built a relationship with. Just they're checking up on me, making sure I'm doing good. Vice versa, and just talking and just kind of saying how it's a great turnaround with the program. And Coach Lembo is just doing a great job in the community. With all the people around me, and then just realizing like my heart, I think, was at Buffalo at the time. Because I realized when I was out there, like it was bigger than just myself at the time. Being from Buffalo, there's not a lot of group of guys who come out of Buffalo who can go Division I or who play football. New York is not a heavily recruited high school area or sports area in general for football. So I had to inside my heart, it just felt that I had to come back to prove to a lot of Buffalo kids and inspire a lot of Buffalo kids that you can make it out of Buffalo and you can go play at the University at Buffalo, or you can go play high school here and make it somewhere else in a Division I college, and then make it to the NFL ultimately if that's what you want, as long as you continue to work and put your mindset to it. So I had a long talk with just my faith and with God at the moment, and just prayed about it, and ultimately he led me back to Buffalo, and I think that was for this specific reason, honestly.
Yeah, and you made a heck of an impact. That's for sure. 2024 was a dream year for you, at least on the field. You were the first player in UB history to be named consensus All-American. You were MAC Defensive Player of the Year, led the entire FBS in tackles. Was this season kind of like vindication for you? Because you had fought for so long to prove you belonged at that level. And not only did you prove you belonged, like you proved you can thrive with the very best college football has to offer. Basically, what I'm asking, how freaking good did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it felt amazing. Obviously, just for statistically and just for the production of myself, but also just the team and where we were. We were ranked bottom of the MAC statistically, and we were ranked projection like we're going to go 3, 4, maybe a 4-win team. So that fueled up myself, and that also fueled up the guys in the locker room, and we just used that as motivation. We just said, listen, no matter what anybody says about our team or who we are, it doesn't matter as long as we control what we can control, and that's coming to work every day, that's watching film every day, that's making sure we're doing the right amount of weights in the weight room, and we're doing all the reps we can, and just pushing and holding each other accountable each day and every single minute we have together. And like for myself, I mean, like you said, it was just it felt like it was meant to be, to have this type of season for myself. All the work that I've put in since I was even a young kid, like 22 was the breakout year for me, like where I got my feet wet, and I was just, okay, this is college football. And then 23 got hurt, which I obviously was a pain, but this year was like, okay, this is the year that I think I know I can have in the level, the standard that I hold myself to. And this year was a little more of what people can see, that what I can do on the field, both in coverage and in the run game. I think a lot of people didn't understand, if I can cover, or if I could play man, or if I can zone drop. They see all the tackles, but this year you were able to see a lot of the coverage skills and my ball skills. And that, I got to give a lot of credit to my coach Bowen of this year, allowing him just to work with him in the off season, and getting my eyes right and making sure I'm opening up my hips, turning and running, reading the quarterback eyes. A lot of credit to him, and also the amount of film I watch. I think you know, I think it was definitely destined for me, to have the type of year I had, because there's so many hours behind the scenes that I don't think people understand, that is put into the game of football, watching film, in itself. I mean, honestly, I watched 3 to 4, maybe even sometimes 5 hours a day, just watching throughout the season, watching film on the opponent, on myself. that allows me to play fast. It allows me to see things on the field that I saw on film. So it allows me just to trigger faster and get more TFLs and notice what route concepts are going to happen. So that's what really allowed me to excel, both in games and even during practice. I study our offense all the time, so it's like they get mad at me when I'm blowing up a jet sweep or I'm blowing up a reverse that somehow I they don't know how I know it's coming. But that's all tokes to the film study, and that's what a big part of my game is the film study, and also just being somebody who wants to chase the ball down every single play. Like I want to be the first one to the ball every single play, and I'm trying to punish the dude with the ball. So it's if I'm not the first one there, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be there. Whether it's second or third, but I'm always chasing the ball and I'm always trying to be there. So it was just definitely a special season for me, and there's definitely more to come for this. I'm just so excited, and I'm ready to see where things go.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned your coverage skills. Like you led the conference in interceptions. That I'm sure caught some people, I don't know, by surprise, but it definitely got some more eyes on you. You got to play in the Bahamas Bowl, finish your college career with a win, which a lot of
Yeah,
people can say that. There are not
yeah,
not a lot of players that leave college football, leave their college careers on a win. So that is awesome that you got to experience that. And now it's, getting into the NFL draft stuff. I think a lot of people were surprised and maybe a little disappointed that you didn't receive an invite to the Senior Bowl, not the Shrine Bowl, not the Combine. You were the only draft eligible defensive first team All American not to receive a Combine invite. How did you handle that? Is that just another chip added to the
yeah.
growing sack on your shoulder?
Of course, of course. You can't control any of that, and I can sit here and whine about it, or say there's a reason why I didn't get invited, yada yada. But it's not going to do anything for my case, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Everything I've done is on film, and everything I've have ever worked for is on tape, and the film doesn't lie. I've had my pro day as well, so numbers don't lie. And everybody, they're going to have their opinions on me, whether they're good or bad. It doesn't matter because, at the end of the day, I'm going to come to work every day and just put my best foot forward, and you're going to get everything out of me. Like I said, it's like the combine, the Senior Bowls. To me, they don't matter at the end of the day. They're just get there, get in front. Obviously, it's a good thing just to get in front of the scouts and the GMs and everything. But to me, I'm not going to sit here and just worry about it because I can't control what I do or don't get. But it's going to be something that is on. It's going to be a chip on my shoulder for a while, and I tend to take a lot of things that I go through and use it as more motivation. So I don't know why people keep continuing to try to say negative things about me because it just adds up, and I like to use it more and more and more for motivation. But at the same time, I'm so determined just to be the best out there and be the best person that I can be and football player and linebacker. Because I'm starving, honestly. I'm not even hungry. I'm starving just to play this game. And I'm so grateful just to be able to play this game. And it's an amazing opportunity just to even be, speaking to you guys and having a chance to talk to teams. It's just been a blessing, and I'm looking forward to everything to come.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many paths to the NFL, more now than ever before. I mean, the Jets just drafted a guy last year named Quantez Stiggers, who was drafted out of the CFL. He was playing in the
Yeah,
fan-controlled football league 2 years ago. I mean,
crazy.
one of your former teammates at Buffalo, who's now with the Bills, Joe
Yeah,
Andreessen, was
yeah.
undrafted, wasn't even initially signed, had to go through rookie minicamp, got a tryout there, got signed, made the team, still on the roster now. He's killing it. There are so many different roads, and I feel like for you, it would be going against what your character to take the easy way, right? I feel like this is how you would like it, right? You were a walk on at Buffalo. It would just be different than what you're used to be the combine invite guy, the
Right.
combine star. Like this is the way to go. But I mean, on that note, talking about Joe Andreessen, right? I know we're a Jets site, but I do feel I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you some sort of a Bills question. You had the Bills local day earlier this month. You have a pretty close relationship, to my knowledge, with Joe Andreessen. So talk to me about your conversations with the Bills, if you've had any, your experience at the local day, and also, hey, is that somewhere you'd love to play at the NFL level?
Well, I can neither confirm or deny any relationships or conversation with the Bills or any other teams.
Fair enough.
So you know how that goes. So yeah. But
Fair
I've
enough.
talked to Joe. I've talked with Joe. Joe's, he's a good buddy of mine. I train with his trainer. And he gives me good advice as well. Just just enjoy this process, and that's what I've been doing. Just
Mhm.
enjoying every conversation that I have, and just taking everything and just realizing that this is going to be a good opportunity for me, and wherever I end up, they're going to get a dog out of me. So
Oh yeah. What was the local day like? Were you because obviously you had your pro day, you didn't have the
yeah,
combine or anything, but you had the pro day and then the local day. So what was that whole experience like?
yeah, it was fun. The Bills were very welcoming. We just had some position drills. I felt like I did very well there. Just moving around, just having fun. Football. To me, I've been playing it since I was 6 years old. So it's just a job that I do every single day. It's my life. So if you're going out there nervous, then you haven't prepared enough for it. So I was able just to go out there and just have fun, fly around, and just do what I've been doing since I was a little kid.
Hell yeah, man. I'm sure whoever gets you at the next level, they're getting a dog, like you said. But yeah, dude, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know, we got a busy week coming up. The draft is
Sure.
next week, a busy few days. Try to enjoy it as much as you can. Spend time with
Uh,
the family, all that stuff, man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Justin. Thanks for having me, man.